Hello, everybody. This is obviously Saf's Unscripted, and we've got a very sick Brevin over there. As you can see, he's muted because he's coughing like a sicko. But good on him for actually being here. He asked us
Still not
to.
healthy after the previous episode, Brett.
Yeah, he's the man is struggling there, but it's okay. We love you. And before we start, I just want to say to everybody that's actually subbed and that listens to us, and this is a little bit of a heartfelt message from me and the guys. We just want to thank everybody. We do like that you guys sub and listen and watch to the end. When we get stopped now, people tell us sometimes we need to make our episodes a bit longer, but yeah, we do appreciate everybody for hitting that subscribe button. Please continue to do so if you haven't. It really means a lot to us. And this podcast is open to sponsorships if anybody wants to hoist something our direction. Today we're going to talk about something pretty cool, international rugby versus franchise rugby. So without any further ado, as Casual Bias would say, take us away there, Casual. What you got?
It's crumbled. Brevin Brett has crumbled. He's fallen into the trap. He knew he had to say that to take us away. It's either that or let's get into it. So, Brett, welcome to the club. I mean, international versus franchise rugby, we love both. But both feel it feels like we're watching a different sport at sometimes. Like you watch franchise rugby, you see the fluidity of it, and you see a lot of the same players in international rugby, and it feels like you're watching a total different game. Like kind of Super Rugby and the All Blacks play the same way. But if you look at the Stormers and you look at the Springboks, you couldn't think of two more different type of games. And I was thinking, like, is that the reason that we see so many franchise players? Like, let's say, for instance, Warwick Geland, or let's just stay with Warwick Geland, who's been performing absolutely brilliant for the Stormers lately. He hasn't really done it, or even Fussy has done it at franchise level, but they can't seem to find a spot at the Springboks. And if they get that shot finally, they don't necessarily perform. So I was thinking, like, what could the possible reason be for that? And this is not just focused on South African rugby. We can say this for any other team, whether it's the All Blacks or Ireland. Revan, what do you think could be the main cause for people performing in franchise but not necessarily international rugby?
Sorry. I think it's just, I don't think people realize how much of a different level it is. I think it's such a different level of rugby. And like you said, sometimes it feels like you may be watching a different sport. It's a level that it can get, it's way more physical. Welcome back, Brett. But it is way more physical. It's way more intense. You literally have to put your body on the line 10 times more than usual. Obviously, we know a lot more. Obviously, a lot of thought goes into franchise coaches' minds and how they want to play. But I can, just by watching Chasing the Sun, for that matter, the amount of detail that these coaches go into, that they ask these players to perform on the pitch, it's on a level of its own. And like you say, for example, a Geland or a Fussy, right? Sure, they could be able to do their basic job that they ask at the Sharks at times and the Stormers at times, right? But the minute they step into that international level, I think it's just they get asked to do 1,000 times more. The pressure becomes more. Everything else becomes more. And if you're not up to that level, you can really feel that you are far behind, in the sense that you're not ready for test level. Or if you're late in your career, you may feel like you were never ready for test level. So, it's just one of those things where it's like it's test level and franchise level. Like, there's not much more for me to say. Brett, I think he was missing when we asked the
first
question.
Tell me what the question was. I kind of agree with everything you said, but just to actually sum up what the actual question was there.
Yeah, it was basically, what is the reason that some players stand out in franchise level but struggle to kind of make themselves a household name when it comes to the international scene?
Okay, well then on that front, everything Brevin said was spot on, but I also kind of don't agree with some of the stuff, because I feel like some people just can't handle the pressure as much as others. Some people think that now they have to change their game. They have to, like, yes, you have to be better. You have to go up a level, but that's not why you're selected. You're not selected to become this next prodigy. You select it because of what you bring to the table where you are already playing. So some people try and change too much. Like if I think back on this topic, actually, where a Kabamba Fluish, you guys remember him, the blonde guy from the Cheetahs?
If you don't know
Um,
him, like, go do your research, please.
yeah, brilliant franchise player. But the second he wore a Springbok jersey, the Oak looked like he has never played a game of rugby in his entire life. So stuff like that. I think just some people just can't make that step up. Cohen Bosch, another great example, had one of his best seasons of his life. Got a Bok debut. First time he touched the ball, kicked the ball 3 meters in front of him, out on the full. Shocking rugby as a Springbok. So yeah, some people just cannot make that step up, and I think psychologically, just play your game.
Yeah, I think a massive thing about it is like they overthink it, right? They think they have to make this special impact as soon as they put on that box jersey instead of just going out there and doing the job that they've been doing all along. A great example that comes to mind, and I love this example because I'm going to use the All Blacks with Richie Mo'unga, who was always the best franchise 10. It felt like he was just levels above everyone. As we know, Beauden Barrett dropped off a bit, but he could never really solidify his spot in that number 10 jersey for the All Blacks because when he came onto the field, you could see he's not on the level of Beauden Barrett, but yet he was way clear of him when it comes to the franchise rugby. But as soon as he started maturing and understanding the game more, we could see his levels above everyone in the world. Like that's why he's the best 10 in the world now. So it's not to say that because you can't make the step up immediately, that you can't with time, obviously get into the swing of things or into the rhythm and make yourself a household name. Wow, I'm stumbling at the moment. But yeah, I love that example, and we saw it even with Dion Fourie in Chasing the Sun. Just going back to that story, Brett, any thoughts of that? Do you think guys should probably not think about it too much when they can't make that step up immediately?
Yeah, I think but that's what I think makes Rassi such a great coach. He will tell you in the change room, listen, you are playing like dog shit. If you want to be here, show me. If you don't want to be here and you think this occasion is too big for you, tell me now. We'll sub you and you won't play for us again. And that's what I love. That's what we saw from Chasing the Sun, like his honesty, his brutal honesty, and the players hold each other accountable when it comes to stuff like that. So that is also what, for me, changing the subject a little bit, makes Rassi one of the best coaches in the world. And just to reiterate what you said, Richie Mo'unga is not the best 10 in the world. So just up on that, please. Brevin, anything from your side?
Yeah, look, I think that's another debate for another day. I'm with Brett on that one. But anyway, we're not going to get into a whirlpool here of debating on that. But I feel like 100%, I feel like people do tend to maybe overthink it. And like you said, they might not need to change who they are and how they play in the sense. However, I do think there is a sense that you have to have the ability to adapt your game. So, for instance, Amani Libbok, I'm going to use him here. I feel like Mani Libbok, as we all know, before he got his Bok call up, you never really saw him kicking many up and unders, that type of thing. But what I love about Mani Libbok is if you look at that French game, he was putting perfect up and unders for Kirtley and Colby to chase and Peter Steff, etc. And that's his ability to change his game in that way, and what Rassi would have needed or Ninabe would have needed. So obviously, look, as we all know, Mani sometimes can maybe get in his head, but his ability to change the way he can play at times is what you need in an international player. I think the way Eben plays in test level and franchise level is completely different as well. I feel like Eben's a lot more, call me crazy, I feel like he's more free at the Sharks. Like, I see him I've seen him do some crazy things at the Sharks, some crazy tries. So yeah, I think it's all about being able to just adapt your game as well, to what the coach needs. Obviously, that's why they pick you, because they feel like you are the guy that can suit that game plan. So yeah, I think mentally you just have to be able to not change too much, but when you need to adapt certain areas, I think it's important for you to be
Yep.
able to do that.
Yeah, on that, what you just said. Firstly, on what you were saying before I forget, the Moni Leboeuf thing against the French. I just want to say that to those people that just keep forgetting that Moni Leboeuf is actually better than Johnny Sexton ever could be, because he played in a World Cup semi-final, something that Sexton did not do. And then secondly, I want to say on that what you said now. This is why I think Nohamba won't be good as a Springbok fly half, is because he will never fit the system of Springboks. I see there's lots of content creators now out there saying that Nohamba should be the next Springbok 10, and they're actually reposting it. And I do like Nohamba. I like that he's on form. I like that he's playing well, but I don't think he'll make that step up. Maybe against Wales, if they select him, he'll play well and he'll do something extravagant, because they'll say to him, "It's a friendly, go, have fun." But when it comes to serious Test rugby against an All Blacks or against any Six Nations side, well, top three Six Nations side for that matter, Nohamba won't fit the structure. He won't be able to calm a game down, play to the levels that he should. And again, that's not a dig at Nohamba. That's just how it is.
Brett, I agree on both your points, because Johnny Sexton was a fraud. He did nothing. Okay, he's got the title, but he wasn't a crucial player at all. Okay, so Moni Leboeuf is way better. Secondly, Nohamba, I totally agree. It gives me the same vibe as Ivan Roos in his first season, right? And this video is actually based around Ivan Roos, because we had this conversation and then decided to bring up this topic, where Ivan Roos had this fluent season. He got all the space in the world. He smashed people in tackles. He ran through gaps like it was nothing. And obviously, you're not going to get that at international level. That's why we saw the likes of Dwayne Vermeulen and Jasper Wiese performing so much better than Ivan Roos for the Springboks. And it's the same with Nohamba. Like, to be fair, he's not even a 10. He's a 9 that can play 10. So I would never play him 10. He's not playing 10 for me in that Wales game. That goes to Masuku at the moment, easily. But I kind of want to bring us into a Ivan Roos topic in terms of what his future could hold for the Springboks. Because obviously the first time around when he got to the Springboks thing, he's very young, couldn't necessarily make the step up and get into the top 2 number 8s that we want to use. He's had an outstanding season, absolutely brilliant, game in, game out, man of the match performances. And the thing that I kind of picked up on is he's starting to do the hard yards, which he didn't always do, like the hard work, the crafting at the rucks, trying to get the breakdown steals, just being a kind of a menace at the breakdown. Do you think that might have been what Rassie could have told him? Listen, we want you to do more of the hard yards, because that fits the South African 8 mold. Brevin?
Yeah. Brevin, you can go first. You're a forward. This is more up your alley. I'm just a very big fan. So,
Okay. Look, I think going into this upcoming window upcoming window, I mean the whole year, I want to see 2 Bok 8s. I want to see Jasper Wiese and I want to see Ivan Roos as the 2 8s. That's what I want to see. I am a Bulls fan. I am a Cameron Hanekom fan. But listen, Ivan Roos has been better this season. I think also Hanekom as well hasn't played as much. He has been injured for quite a while as well. So Hanekom is still young. And controversial, I don't even think Hanekom should be playing 8. I think he should be a 7. But that's the issue where Ulrich Loh comes in. But we'll get to that at another podcast whenever we discuss that. But I think Ivan Roos is more than capable now after growing and just maturing his game, etc. I think he's more than capable of being able to perform at a Bok 8 in a Bok 8 jersey. I think but this is where Jasper Wiese for me just maybe might edge it. Is Ivan Roos, don't get me wrong, he's so physical and I like it, and I think he can be more physical, but that's what I think we need from him. I think they use Jasper so well because he's so physical. I mean, if you watch him in the Premiership, he's a wrecking ball. I mean, they really can't contain him there in the Premiership. I think he's a standout 8 there, and in Test level, I think the Boks need an 8 that is physical, grinds on defense. Obviously a leader. So Yeah, I think I literally would literally split the workload between the two throughout this international year. I would literally play them half half and see how it
Yeah,
goes.
we are spoiled for
I
choice there.
Exactly. So I genuinely think Ivan Roos needs to be given a proper chance this year in a block jersey, because I know he's good enough. I know he's good enough, and I know he can perform, especially if he performs the way he's been doing lately for the Stormers. Obviously, the Stormers haven't been doing well, but he's been standout for them, and he's probably the most mature player with Dan du Plessis on that field at the moment for the Stormers.
Yeah, I think ever since that time, I had my little rant on his discipline and how poorly he's like he would make a good run and then shove a guy's head into the ground, and that discipline just it was actually embarrassing. Couldn't defend a guy anymore because what do you say? How do you defend a guy that's obviously blatantly just there to be an arsehole on the field? And since he's changed that, not only has his running become better, his running lines have become better, he's fetching better, he's breaking more tackles, and his defense. He's a guy ran at him the other day full pace and just stopped him like it was running into a brick wall and held him up and won the scrum penalty for held up. I mean the scrum. So I think that Evan Roos is. I think he's ahead of Jasper Wiese at this point. That is probably a bit of bias, but this Ivan Roos that I'm watching for the last say 7 games it's exciting me. It really, really is.
Yeah, and just to Brevin mentioned, like he doesn't think Cameron Hanekom will necessarily play for the Boks this season, but I do think there's a way in for him because remember we switch out 6 and 7. If the move is to rotate Sia out and we want to play Cameron Hanekom in that 6 jersey for the Boks, obviously that means he plays 7 for the Bulls. I wouldn't be opposed to that. I would love a youngster in there to partner Pieter Steph de Toy. I think we've got the perfect leadership group to really help the likes of Ivan Roos and Cameron Hanekom with Dwayne Vermeulen there, with Pieter Steph to partner them, Sia Kolisi there. So I do think the leadership group is amazing for our youngsters that can come through. Now, another point just on Ivan Roos, we spoke about his game maturing. And me and Brevin spoke about it, so I want to hear Brett's opinion about it. Do we see him being a captain one day, whether it's for the Stormers or for the Springboks? Because if you look at him, he looks like he's taken on a leadership role in the Stormers. You can see the way that he's playing is that of a leader. You can see his mentality has changed completely. Would you like to see him in the leadership group of the Stormers and potentially the Springboks one day? Because we mentioned it and got some backlash in the comments about it. But I think it's a great discussion to have.
Yeah, if you look at him, like again the last 5 games, for example, a Salman Murat at the Stormers is not a good captain. He's a brilliant player, but he lacks leadership. That's just my opinion. Watching from my lounge, so I don't know how it is in a training session or stuff like that. But I do, however, feel that when I watch a decision being made by Salman Murat on the field, I kind of get agitated a bit, and then I see a guy like Ivan Roos when he steps up and he says, and he points to touch, and then the whole team's like, okay, that's what we're doing. So it kind of feels like that he does have a vice captain role in the forwards as is already, and I think the way he's maturing, in 2 years' time, we could see Ivan Roos as a Springbok captain. And I don't actually care what people say, but that is how I see it. And I think that it could be beneficial to the Boks, and it could be beneficial to Ivan Roos as a whole in his game and his presence on the field.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, like literally, if we remember correctly, Sia Kolisi was chucked in, if I'm correct, as captain the year before the World Cup in 2019. Came in his first captaincy at Ellis Park, at Emirates Airline Park, or whatever you want to call it nowadays. Look, I think we are. What are we away from the World Cup? 3 years? 3 years away from the World Cup, or 3 and a bit. I think that's more than enough time to mature even Roos to maybe possibly take that captaincy role. And it's just this is just a call out to South African fans in general. I'm a bit disappointed in the reaction to, because it was a simple article that suggested Ivan Roos could possibly, it was an opinion piece where the journalist said Ivan Roos could possibly be a captain for the Boks in the future. And the amount, I get the rivalry between the Bulls and the Stormers and the Lions and the Sharks. I get it. The three of us here, we have our banter, whatever. But the amount of disappointing feedback I saw on that piece because of what they saw in the past just really disappointed me. People saying Hanekom is miles ahead of Roos, and I'm like, I'm a Bulls fan. Trust me, I want to be biased for the guy, but that's just not true. And you hear people slandering his discipline, which he has fixed, so that cannot be a factor as well. So I think South African fans or Springbok fans in general just need to realize this is a talent, a generational talent, in my opinion, who can become one of the best if he stays grounded, stays humble, and focuses on his game. And like you said, there looks like there is leadership there. And if that's what, and I think, obviously, if the Stormers ever see this video, and what do you know, who am I to tell you what to do? For goodness sake, I'm just some fan. But I would love to see Ivan Roos as captain for the Stormers. I would love to see it, without a shadow of a doubt.
You know what's become my biggest problem with us South African fans, and I'm saying us because I'm guilty in the same thing, that people saying Hanekom is light years ahead of Ivan Roos. It's Hanekom's debut season. He's played 5 games out of the whole season. Well, 4 games, 3 or 4 games the whole season. People say he's light years ahead. It takes a South African player, one good game to be recognized as a potential Springbok. And every single South African fan feels that way. For example, in Nahamba, everyone forgot that the last 6 seasons he's been absolutely horrible, and that could come back to haunt him. But he has a few good games as a fly-off. Now people reckon he should be the next Springbok fly-off. That is absurd, and we all are guilty of it. We need to stop this.
Yeah, fully agree. We've spoken about it a couple of times, and as you said, we are guilty of it as well in terms of flip-flopping your opinions. You kind of forget what you literally said a couple of days ago. I want to bring us into an interesting topic, because obviously it's international versus franchise rugby, and we as SAFAs, we watch a lot more of the franchise rugby from South Africans, and I kind of want to pose the question to you guys. Who is certain players at franchise rugby that you would want to see step up into international level within, let's say, the next season 2 or 3, whether it's a youngster, a prospect that you've been keeping your eye on. Obviously there's basic names like the likes of a Sasha or a Nku van Wyk, but is there some people that you've spotted that has gone kind of under the radar? I know Brett said in the previous episode on Monday we spoke about the Creel brothers, so for instance, like that. Obviously, Ivan Roos is an easy one, but do you guys have any standout players in terms of franchise rugby that you would love to see get there?
Sure. I think I'd love to see Ambrose back in the mix. I think he's fully deserved that next call-up. To possibly,
very mature at the moment.
A lot better than what he went through a massive dip, and he's done very well to find the player we all know he is. So Ambrose is an obvious one. Obviously, I'm just gonna do Bulls players. I think you guys can take care of the Stormers players possibly. Obviously, David Creel definitely possibly gets a run somewhere along the line. I think Hanekom definitely as well. Obviously, like you said, I'm not going to call him the next best thing, but I think he's good enough to be in that jersey.
If Wales doesn't,
sorry?
If Wales doesn't steal him.
Yeah, possibly. You never know.
He's not going. This Wales that we saw in the Six Nations might be the best thing for us that we've seen, because now we know Hanekom's not going to join that shite.
Yeah, and I think Ron Nokia, I definitely would like to see him start playing again for the Boks. I think he could learn so much because they're so similar from Franco Mostert. I think Franco could teach that guy so much, and I think that would benefit Ron Nokia so much as well. And obviously, I can't pronounce his name. My apologies. But the other 8 for the Bulls, what's his name? Give me one. Go on with the Stormers. I'll get back to you in a second.
Just on that Ruan Orkia, I don't think it's too far-fetched to say that he might get a couple of caps, because obviously John Klein injured. I don't think we'll see Marvin Ori, especially since he's playing in wherever he is at the moment. And Ergie Snyman, he's injured a lot. Like, he doesn't play too much rugby at the moment. So I think it would be safe to say that Ruan Orkia has got himself into maybe being that third position lock, unless Lore Jager comes back, which obviously he has come back now, but Ruan Orkia has been a standout performer, and I would also love to see him there again. Brett, you want to take us away with the Stormers?
Yeah, I actually don't just have Stormers player. I got quite a few from all over. I think that we mentioned Ivan Roos as the next 8. I think Frankie Horn is knocking on that 8th-man door. I think a guy like, I would have said Henke van Wyk, but obviously injured again after coming back from an injury, out for another 6 weeks. That's just mind-boggling. But I think a Dan du Plessis, he surely deserves a Bok jersey once in his life. I mean, come on. But people, we are forgetting about a certain somebody, and I thought that he played very well against the Stormers this weekend, was it Jason Jenkins, the lock from Leinster. He's a good lock. He's playing well. He's playing for a good franchise. He's well coached. He is a Springbok player already. That's players like that we shouldn't shy away from. But you have to look at a Tinus de Beer. Guys, hear me out. That Oak, he's good. Somewhere, surely he'll play international rugby somewhere. Potentially for Wales in the future, if the Boks don't use him for something somewhere. But yeah, Tinus de Beer for Cardiff.
Wait, can I just, before I forget his name, I was talking about Mpilo Gumede from the Bulls. I think he's been phenomenal this season as well. So I would like to see him get a bit of a chance at some point.
Great. On that Tinus de Beer thing, like, people have been talking about Noamba playing 10 against Wales. I said in the previous episode that is Masuku's, but also Tinus de Beer. If you want to rotate that 40 minutes to the two of those, to those two, I would not have Noamba putting on a 10 jersey. He's not a 10. Okay, I'm not going to say it again. But those two have been absolutely brilliant. I don't think necessarily in the long term they will be 10s. It's kind of tough because they are probably choice number 3 and 4 for that 10 jersey at the moment, because we lack in that 10 position in terms of specialists. We got Mani and we got Hanrey, but that's kind of it. Whereas you look at the wings, you would easily have said someone the likes of Edwal van der Merwe, but look how many proper wings we've got. Like, that's the thing. The same with Ruan Orkia. It's just like some of our positions are so fixed. Like Kurtley Arendse, Cheslin Colby, Kanan Moody, probably still. I think we are done with Mapimpi now, but it's tough to get into those wing positions. The likes of Dan du Plessis could work himself into that inside center, but now we've got a couple of boys putting their hands up for that inside center position while we still got Dialende and Estreisen. So it's problems, but that's the problems that you kind of want. You want that squad depth. Now, moving on,
do you think Rob de Prea's chances of ever wearing a Bok jersey is over?
Yeah, I think by now, yes. Seeing that he's not even played in the 10 jersey at Sale, I think that's played a big role, because he's playing at the outside center role. So if you can't even play for your club at 10, why would we choose you at 10 role? And after all this injury crisis and everything we've had, I can't see them going for Rob du Preez after they had a perfect opportunity for him and still didn't go for it.
Yeah, can I just say, like, 2 players or 3 players that I would have loved to see play more for the Boks and who I thought were going to be really influential for us going forward is all 3 of those brothers, the du Preez brothers. Like, I cannot tell you The way I feel about Malcolm Marx, listen, if you know me, Malcolm Marx is like, it's like wifey Malcolm. Like, literally, it's,
That's
it's like,
sometimes the other way around.
yeah, I literally was starting to feel that way about John, Luke, and Dan. Like, obviously, I'm a
Right.
forward, and I really loved the way they played. They were physical, they were fierce, they were always in opponents' faces. The pure Bok
Skill.
loose forwards you wanted. So
No.
yeah, just a shout out to those guys. I would have really liked to see them play more.
Yeah,
But anyway,
obviously, my lady is a Sale Sharks fan, like massive, and her favorite player is John Luke by Country Mile, and she says he is by far the best player. He's the most impactful player. So, obviously, it's not. I would say he's got the best chance of getting into the Springboks jersey, but what? How old are they? They're on the latter end, right?
Yeah, so Robert is 2 years older than him. He's 33, so they're 31.
Yeah. So I
Oh,
think
they're 32, he's 34. If I'm not
yeah.
wrong,
So I
check.
think
I'll check now.
yeah, the thing is, like, we've already got the experience there. You don't want to pull in another 35-year-old. You want to bowl to that World Cup. Imagine you go into the next World Cup. You've got the experience of Peter Steph de Toy, but you've got 4 years of experience with Evan Roos, Cameron Hanekom, for instance, like the guys that can do the hard yards. So I don't think that will necessarily be John Luke as well.
Yeah, unless they 27 and
They're
Robert's
28.
29.
The Dupree twins are 28, and Robert is 30. So you know what? I'm taking it back. Come on, lads, get a spot in that box. Come on, boys.
Yeah, fair enough. Brett,
But
did you
I
want to
think
add something on it? Oh, sorry, Brevan, go.
no, I was just gonna kind of say like we keep talking about these players being maybe getting selected again or getting selected for the first time. But like we reiterating, it's a different level, and we see like for instance. We don't know if David Creel, for example, can step in a 13 or 12 jersey for the box and do what he does for the Bulls for the box. Obviously, we know he's very versatile. We know he can do a job. We know he's physical, but he's not the biggest, but he is physical. But like you said, like running into running into someone like I've gone blank, but like running into like a guy in the URC who may not be an international compared to running into a Bundy Aki when he's playing for Ireland are two different things. So obviously people have their opinions on Bundy Aki or whatever, but the matter of the fact is like he is a unit, he is a steam train. And look, I think like we'll say, it is a different level. So but like you said, Rassi is the guy that can get that level out of players, and
Yeah.
that's what I love about Rassi as well. So like I will trust Rassi with anything that he puts forward because I know he can get the best out of that player. So here's to just hoping for that for any player that gets called up.
Yeah, actually, I'm pretty much done with everything I wanted to add to that. I do have very curious to see what the rest of the people in South Africa think in our comment section. But that's all from me. Casual, you got anything else to add to this?
I just want to bring up a last bit of conversation. Do we see any? We just spoke about squad depth, right? That we have good squad depth, good healthy competition. Is there anywhere that we feel we don't have enough competition and the players there are getting old? Like one that pops into my head might be, for instance, our props. Do we think we have enough depth there and talent coming through to still keep up our physicality?
From a forwards perspective, in props, I just see now. I won't try and say his name because I'll probably butcher it. But Picker's captain, literally Rassi Erasmus. Okay, Brett, you know what? Because you're such a cool guy, you can go ahead with the story.
No,
Do it
no,
for
no.
us.
You took the words
Okay.
out of my mouth.
Okay. So for any international viewers watching that are not South African, or those that don't know what Varsity Cup is, basically we have a tournament where players that are in Varsity play. It's a very like proper thing, and our Varsity setups are very professional with proper coaches. So basically, they have this tournament, whatever, and this guy's from Northwest University, still young. He's literally from Varsity Cup. He's going straight to the Pumas, But Rassie Erasmus has said, come and join us at an alignment camp. And that like Rassie, you always tend to amaze us, because which coach would literally say, like, straight out of varsity, you come play in our Springbok alignment camp and come and train with us? Like, that is trust on another level, trying to see what he's about. And I think there is depth. I mean, you have a Gerard Steenekamp who's obviously not on the bad side of his age. Another guy who I really think could be a feature for the box. Netland for sure, obviously not super young, but he's not super old as well. And I think him as well. Like, I do think there is depth there. Obviously Oxy is there, so I'm not too worried. And look, we're South Africans. We're always going to produce good props. They'll come at some point. I'm not worried about that. So I think.
Is there any other positions that you think we lack a bit of specialists and quality? Like the 10 probably stands out a bit more.
I think the 10 does stand out, definitely. I think we don't have a 10 that has the composure of a Handré Pollard at the moment. I think Handré Pollard's composure and ability to control a game at test level is unmatched. And so that's just that. But I'm actually not worried. I think this is the best place South African rugby has been in. And we say that after winning 2 World Cups in a row.
Yeah.
But we have so much depth. And I think we will continue to build depth, especially as long as Rassie is in charge of the system. And I'm sure he will obviously employ a guy who will do the same. I think as long as we have structure within the South African rugby system, the depth will keep coming out of our ears. So yeah, I'm not too stressed about that.
Do you think, because our scrum offs are a bit on the older side, do you think that scrum offs could be an issue, or do you think we've got kind of still got it sorted with the likes of Grant Williams? Because obviously de Klerk getting on the older side, Kobus Reinach already on the older side, Hendrickson not really at the races at the moment, Grant Williams, Emrose Papier a bit on the older side. What's your thoughts on
Emrose is 27. Emrose is 27. Mm-hmm. He's a youngster.
I do have an issue with scrum offs, because when you were naming people now where there's not enough depth, I thought in Varsity Cup I saw a bunch of great 10s. There are a bunch of great 10s in URC. And then I was thinking, every single position we should be covered for the next 20 years. But if I look at scrum offs, that's where I'm starting to worry. Yes, Emrose Papier is 27, but younger than him, I can't see anybody that's really pulling rank here and that's shining for me. Like, even I'm going as far as New Zealand. I can't see in New Zealand who's the better 9 there, because they got a what's the name? No, I've hit a blank. But anyway,
Christie and Roygod.
Yeah, Roygod and TJ Perenara and stuff like that. And these guys, nobody's really standing out and being like, whoa, look at that play. This is amazing. And I'm feeling the same in South Africa, because I'm obviously not the one to talk, because I've thought that the best scrum off that South Africa has ever had since Fourie Priya for me was Kobus Reinach, and he hardly plays for the box. So probably not the best person to judge on scrum offs, because everybody else doesn't think he's the best. And yeah, so that's just
I do. Fault. I loved Kobus.
I do.
Good. You too. I like it.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for watching. We're going to wrap this episode up. We appreciate each and every one of you guys. Please remember to like and subscribe. Thank you for always joining us, supporting us, loving us. We appreciate you. Thank you very much. And we will see you next time. Episode 71. Done and dusted.
Okay, bye.